What's up, everyone? Noah Walker here with my video series Accumulated Knowledge for Team Cardhoarder. And this week I'm back on the sweet Grixis Delver for a league of the list that I would have played if I could have gone to Chiba, and the list that I'm going to play in Louisville. At least something very similar to this. So the mana base pretty much always stays the same. I've been considering adding a third underground sea over a fetch land, but fetch lands are just so important sometimes when you brainstorm, so it's kind of hard to justify that. But it's definitely easy to get wasted off black mana sometimes with this deck. But it's just 8 blue fetches, the trop for Deathrite Shaman and Ancient Guardian on the board. You really only fetch up trop when you know you're playing against something like Randomator. But yeah, the 2 Cs, the 3 Volks, and the 4 Wastelands. Then we got the creatures. 4 Delvers, 4 Deathrite, 3 PZ. Right now I'm trying 1 TNN in the main as opposed to the 1 click or the 4th Young Pyromancer, just because I think TNN's pretty well positioned right now, just with the meta. At least how the IRL meta's been going. I don't know how good it will be online, but I'm fine to try 1 main deck anyways. And then the 2 Gurmags. Gurmag's still great. Yeah, I don't know if I'd want more than 2, but I definitely don't fault people for playing 4, or like the people who are playing more TNNs. Like, I think it's a little greedier. I hate having cards that cost all that much mana in my Delver decks, because it's really important to just be a really efficient deck. But some cards are powerful enough where they warrant being played even though they cost 2 or 3. But alright, then we got the 12 cantrips, 4 Ponder, 4 Brainstorm, 4 Gitaxian Probe. Very important cards, of course. Keep the deck going. And then the interaction. 4 Force of Will, 4 Days, 1 Spell Pierce. This could be a forked bolt, the Spell Pierce. It could be a forked bolt, it could be another Dismember maybe. But I've been pretty happy with Spell Pierce for the most part. And the 4 Force and the 4 Days are pretty much necessary. Then 4 Bolt, 2 Therapy, 1 Dismember. I've been playing basically that configuration for a while now, and I think I really like it. The Cabal Therapy's main deck have been really good with, mostly just with Probe. Like, it's pretty good with PZ, but that's kind of living the dream, you know. If your own Pyromancer is surviving, like, while you untap and are casting spells, then for the most part you're doing really well anyways. But Therapy is definitely great with Young Pyromancer, but most of the time it's just like sniping them on turn 1 with Probe into Therapy. Super powerful. And then I like Dismember as a removal spell right now too, against all the Eldrazi decks. And in the mirror, it's like one of the only answers to Gurmag Angler aside from Force, and I don't think Force is very good in the mirror, so it definitely means having more copies of Dismember are really good. Alright, then let's move on to the board a little. We've got the 1 Dark Blast. I've been playing this card forever. It's insane against all of like Death and Taxes and stuff like that. I feel like I like this card more than I like something like Dread of Night or Sulfur Elemental, because I think those cards are just like too narrow. Like, I bring a Dark Blast in way more matchups. It's really good against like the mirror too if they have Young Pyromancer. It's okay if they just have Delver, but also very good against blue-red because you can kill their Delvers, their Young Pyromancers, and Grim Lavamancer. But yeah, I just think Dark Blast is a really good card. Extra Cabal Therapy for combo and for Eldrazi. 2 Surgicals, mostly for lands. Also good against, random other combo decks, but definitely really for hitting Loam. And Punishing Fire. Got the Vendilion Click. So yeah, I really love Click. It's definitely one of my favorite cards in the deck. For a while I was playing 1 Painful Truce in the Click slot, but I actually think that what's important is not necessarily having more cards than your opponent, but it's having the cards that you play matter a lot. So I found that like just having extra 3-cost threats that when I play them could win the game by themselves was much better than just drawing a lot of cards in those mirrors, or in those matchups, I mean, sorry. Because I would just find myself having a lot of cards in my hand, like just a bunch of reactive spells, and not being able to close them out. And then as the game got later, we both had a lot of cards, and their cards were just generally better because their deck was built to do something like that. So when I'm bringing in stuff like Sulfuric Vortex and Vendilion Click, and I keep in the TNN, just having the 3-cost cards do a lot in a matchup are really important. Then we got 2 Pyroblasts, mostly for miracles. Also good against random combo decks and pretty good in the mirror too. Especially with people playing TNN more and more nowadays, I think Pyroblast is one of the best answers to it. Obviously, it's good against cards like Jace, but Jace isn't exactly it's insane against the Delver deck already because it just lines up pretty poorly against like creatures. But yeah, Pyroblast is good. 2 Baleful Strix. Ever since Eldrazi got super popular, I've basically fallen in love with this card in this deck. I think that a lot of post-board configurations, you just want to be the best value deck you can be, and Baleful Strix helps with that a lot. Fire Covenant, I've been trying this out pretty recently. Again, it's a 3-cost card, which I hate playing in decks like this, but this card has been super powerful. It's just always been at least a 3-for-1 every time I've cast it, so definitely been liking it so far. Then we've got the Ancient Grudge, mostly for Chalice. Same with the Engineered Explosives. Like, these cards are mostly for Chalice of the Void, but also they're good against random other stuff, so that's why I've been liking them. This kills, Batter Skull and Umazal's GT, stuff like that, but it's really for Chalice, because I feel like that card's being more and more popular nowadays in Legacy. Then we got the Pithing Needle, the Winter Orb, the EE. The EE is just basically a catch-all. It's good in a lot of matchups. It's pretty flexible. I see a lot of people like cutting it in the Delver decks, because, it's not exactly great with being able to flip Delver. It's just like, can be kind of a clunky card, but you can set it at up to 4, which is like, 4 is pretty unrealistic, but a lot of times I could even see cracking it at 3, or just 1 or 2, and EE's just been really, really good in this deck for me. Have the Winter Orb. This card's basically only for miracles. Some people bring it in against lands, but I think that that's kind of risky because they have Mox Diamond, and if they start wasting you in your upkeep and they can have Rashad and Port, so it can just get really, really gross. So basically just for miracles, but it's one of the best cards against them, so it's great. Pithing Needle, also mostly for miracles, naming top, but has a lot of uses. That's my favorite thing about, and also one of the hardest parts about building a sideboard for a Delver is I want my cards to be applicable in so many matchups that it's hard to decide, exactly which cards I want. Because sometimes it is better to have narrow cards because they're super powerful. Like Winter Orb, this card it kind of sucks to play this card, but I think it's one of the best possible cards against miracles. So yeah, great deck, gonna be fun. Let's run it through a league.